Okay, now it's 5. All right. So we said we would come back and either do a how's the draft looking, kind of sad, sappy podcast, or we're gonna come back and be like, oh my God, we're in the playoffs. We did it. We got to do one if we're in the playoffs. So first topic of the night I'll just go through is AFC North champs. Haven't been the North champs since 2012. Last time we reached the playoffs was 2014. So I guess as Ravens fans, let's just kind of start there on a high note. I'll start with you, Al. How do you feel being AFC North champs, coming from 4-5 about 7 weeks ago? Now you're AFC North champs. You got a home playoff game. How does it feel as a fan? I guess we'll start there.
I mean, as a fan, you can finally get excited for the Ravens. I mean, it's been some letdown the last 2 seasons as Ravens fans. I mean, everybody remembers the Antonio Brown reaching out at the goal line. I mean, so that win gets snatched from you. I mean, Kyle Juszczyk makes a hell of a play to get into the end zone, and then only for it to be robbed. And then last year, you think you're going to get a win against the Bengals. I mean, it was 4th and what was that, 12, and Tyler Boyd hadn't really done anything or lived up to the hype in his NFL career yet. And bam, blown coverage. He scores a touchdown, and the game's over. So this year to walk away, it feels a lot better. It almost felt like here we go again. And that's where I think probably most fans, and even you, Rob, were nervous, was because you're thinking, okay, here we go again. We're so close. But I mean, it was good. I mean, great job by the coaching staff. You can see that they're making adjustments. The defensive staff learned from that Chiefs game. You got to be aggressive, even at the end of the game. I mean, go down swinging, and they did, and in the end, they were able to make a play and win the football game. And I think if they were as aggressive as they were in this Browns game, they probably would have won that Chiefs game as well, because the Chiefs could not pick up the blitz that the Ravens came with the entire game, and then they sat back at the end. And I mean, everybody knows that prevent style defense just prevents you from winning, and that's what happened. So I'm excited as a Ravens fan. I think the Ravens have as good of a chance as anyone to make a strong run deep into the playoffs, but they've got a tall order coming up on Sunday, because I mean they kind of went in and whipped the Chargers. And the Chargers are going to come back looking for some revenge. They're healthy going into this week's game, so this one should be interesting. But I'm excited.
All right, Bill, go ahead.
Yeah, I'm excited. AFC North champions. We have the top defense. Arguably, I don't know what the stats bore out. I think we did finish number 1 overall as far as yardage goes, although the points is what matters. But yeah, a running game that no one can stop, and the top defense in the league. I'll take my chances with that. Best kicker in the league. Yeah, I'll take my chances in the playoffs with that. It would be some of the games. The first Chargers game, the Atlanta game, gave me a little bit of hope that Lamar was developing as a passer. I thought that he did not play as well as I would have hoped in the passing game in the Browns game, despite the stats, the stats, whatever they are. But they couldn't stop our run. I mean, 300 yards rushing, you don't need to pass that much. But Lamar has got to quit fumbling. That we can, we've gotten kind of lucky in the amount of points that we have given up off of all the turnovers that he's given back. But that's going to bite us. We can't lose the turnover battle in the playoffs, because the playoff teams are all good. And if we get down 2 scores, it's going to start to get real tough sledding. So hopefully we can clean up those fumbling issues, take a little bit more better care of the ball. But between Gus Edwards, Kenny Dixon, and Lamar, people just can't stop us. And Max Williams is doing a great job in his role as a pulling blocker. I mean, I don't know how many snaps he pulled on on Sunday, but he was all over the field, back and forth a million times. So, I mean, our running game is nasty. James Hurst is pulling he pulled 19 times or something in this game. And Williams is all over the formation. So yeah, I mean, we're tough to stop. I like our chances, honestly. I think the game against the Chargers is going to be tough. If we win that game and the Colts lose, we've got to go to Kansas City. If the Colts win, then we go to New England. Honestly, I would rather face New England right away. But we're going to have to go through Kansas City probably no matter what, unless the Colts do us a favor and knock off the Chiefs, and then we get the AFC Championship game in Baltimore, baby.
Okay, that was just about how you felt about winning. All right, Vince, you're right on time. Question was, well, here's the question. How does it feel being AFC North champs? Anything you want to add in there, coming from 4-5, now we're in the playoffs, because a lot of people are kind of, doom and gloom. Just kind of, how does that feel? It's kind of what we were going over first. Be a Ravens fan, you're back in the playoffs.
Yeah, I mean, so it's honestly relieving at this point just to be in it. It's funny. It's like, with everything that's changed, and obviously we all know what the big change was. The last 3 seasons basically all lined up the same way, except this time we made the play on defense. We made the play on 4th down, which is kind of, I feel like it's the monkey off the back, right? I mean, you had the Pittsburgh drive 2 years ago when we took the lead, and then they came down the Antonio Brown stretch, and then you had the Tyler Boyd 4th and 12, and as much as everything changed around here, that was a very familiar feeling Sunday, and it feels damn good to be on the right side of it this time. So caught a little bit of what Bill was saying. I mean, I'm in complete agreement. I mean, my argument has always been, and we haven't been as far away as people have perceived us to be, number one. So I think now that we have broken through and gotten in, all you need to do is get in. And we know that you can make a run. So, there's something about this team also come playoff time. I mean, Harbaugh has never been one and done in the playoffs. So, we have that going for us. So, yeah, I mean, it feels great. I think, the years are the days are long, but the years are short, I think, is what Harbaugh always says. And, I mean, I'm just going to wrap up my initial thoughts by saying, Ravens fans, and myself included, have poo-pooed this coaching staff, understandably so, for the past few years. But you cannot tell me that this coaching staff did not do a hell of a job this year. And when I say this coaching staff, I'm talking everybody. Harbaugh, Marty, for all of his weird calls. I think Greg Roman has been the one behind the scenes that has probably been the big key, especially with obviously the switch to the Lamar offense. But I give this coaching staff just so much credit. They deserve the blame, over the last few years when things weren't going well. And frankly, it's one of those situations where they probably get too much credit and too much blame. But, I'm ready to heap praise on this coaching staff because, number one, Harbaugh held this team together with switching out your franchise quarterback who has been your guy for 10 years. And that could have been an ugly situation, and it wasn't. And, I thought he handled that beautifully and was able to make that transition to be able to run essentially a completely different offense and to run it with the level of effectiveness that we have with, the limitations that we have at this point. I just can't say enough good things about the offensive coaching staff. And then, Wink, man, I mean, if you wanted to know what the difference was between getting over the hump this year versus the last few years, you have nothing to look at. The first thing you can look at is that set of downs at the end of the Browns game when we went cover zero and we said, we're going to go down swinging. We're not going to play passive, sit in zones and just sit around and let Andy Dalton or whoever pick us apart. We're going to come after you and we're going to force you to make a quick decision. And if you're going to beat us, you're going to beat us man against man. And, for him to dial that up 4 straight plays, not having the fear of, getting gashed with the big play, because that's obviously the risk you take when you play zero coverage. Having the guts to dial that up 4 straight times, just fantastic. So, that's where I start and end with this. As much crap as this coaching staff has gotten, and rightfully so, they deserve that much of the credit for finally, getting us over the hump.
Okay. That was that sounds like you're on board with Lamar Jackson now. That's what that sounds like.
I'm all, of course I am. But what do you mean?
Well, you said this be Flacco's best season, and I told you Lamar Jackson would make the difference. Did he make a difference?
He made a difference.
There you go.
I think, and we can get into all that. And I think at this point is not the time and the place, but, I think certainly he provided a spark. There's no doubt about that. It's not the time to get into long-term questions because frankly, I still have those, but, there is no doubt that, this coaching staff had an idea and had a plan for when they were drafting him, what they were going to do, the type of offense they were going to run, and what they knew who he was and what his limitations would be at this point in his career. And they've developed an offense that has shown for now that it can work. And, again, I mean, that to be able to do that, I'm telling you, to have 2 different offenses like that and have this offense ready to go, I have gained a lot of appreciation for what this staff has done. And, they proved at the end of the day that they had a plan when they drafted him. They just didn't say this guy's a great player, blah, 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 Heisman Trophy winner.
Let me add something for you.
They had a specific plan for how they were going to utilize him and the type of offense that they were going to have to build to make, to have success with him.
Not only that, but we're seeing success with it a year earlier than they wanted to, because they were saying out of the gate, Flacco's our quarterback this year. Lamar needs a year of seasoning, whatever. And, Flacco got injured and, obviously what happened. So we're seeing success a year earlier than they thought Lamar was ready to do it.
Yeah, agreed. And that's it. That's, again, just so impressive. I mean, and look, at the end of the day, and I, like I said, going into the draft, my pre-draft evaluation stands, and that's another topic for another day. But one thing that I was pretty sure about going into the draft, and I'm absolutely sure about now, having, listened to this kid and watched him play and there's something about Lamar from a leadership perspective, from just him being able to rally a team, and he's just a great kid. And, that is what I have been most impressed with him by. Forget about the on the field stuff, for him to be able to, take control of this team, and then not necessarily in those type of ways in terms of commanding an offense, but the way he was able to get buy-in from the locker room and have people just rally around him. It's that there he definitely has some in that it factor from an intangible perspective and a leadership perspective that I think has me encouraged that whatever his physical limitations might be as a passer, he can overcome them because he has the mental makeup and the capacity to be able to lead and be that type of galvanizing player that you look for in a franchise quarterback.
Let me add this. If you listen to any of our earlier podcasts, I said all those things. In the draft, I said, that's all right, look. In the draft, I said, hey, look, they drafted an offense for no more to work with. Thank you very much. I'm telling you, go back to earlier podcasts. I said all that stuff when he's on the back of the plane and the reporter saw him joking around with all the guys. He said, that guy's got something special.
Is this like the I Told You So podcast? The I Told You So playoff podcast?
Kind of is for a minute. I had to get off my chest. All right, Al. I'm going to kick it back to you. Let's do AFC playoff teams only power rankings. Who are your 6? Give me 1 through 6 power rankings AFC for the playoffs.
I mean, the power rankings are as they're seeded to me at this point. I mean, everybody's coming with the seed. The Chiefs have come in with the best record in football. I mean, they're the best team in the AFC right now, and the Patriots put a nice stamp on their season last week. I mean, they're the 2nd seed. I mean, the Texans are your 3rd seed. I mean, Deshaun Watson had a hell of a season this year. I mean, putting up solid numbers, 4,100 yards passing for the year. And then the Ravens. I mean, the Ravens are higher in the ranking than the Chargers. And so they're higher in a power ranking because they beat them. I think the Chargers are a good team. And I think Andrew Luck just won the Comeback Player of the Year award. So they're a nice feel-good story that turned it around and ended up getting back into the playoffs. But for me, the power rankings just they are as the teams are seeded right now. And I think after this weekend, we'll see where we are. But I think it's wide open. So to me, you can almost put everybody on an even playing field because I think every one of these teams has a chance to beat the others. I don't think there's a clear-cut favorite. I think the Colts could beat everybody. I think the Ravens can beat everybody. I think the Chiefs can beat everybody. So I just want to see the games. Let's play some football. Hopefully the Ravens can go on another solid run and give us what they gave us in 2012, another Super Bowl.
All right. I'll go ahead and do mine next. I'm not going to lie about it. I have the Ravens at number 1. 2. It's okay. I don't mind the laughs. 2, Kansas City. 3, the Chargers. 4, New England. 5, Texans. 6, Colts. That is my power rankings. I think we're actually the best team in the whole entire field. I don't think anybody can stop this team. If you can run 200 to 300 yards on a team, that's insane. This defense is playing at a high level. This team's got – this is Ozzie Newsome's last year. This team's got something special. This kid's something special who's playing quarterback for the Ravens. They're my number 1 team in the power rankings. I'll go ahead, Vince.
Yeah, I hate the whole power rankings thing. And now that we're in the playoffs, it seems even more pointless. But, I think Al's point is spot on. I mean, we've had 16 games to sort it out. So, I mean, here's what I'll say, though, about, to give you a little bit of rankings. I think, it's funny. As a number 1 seed, I don't think a number 1 seed has been quite as disrespected as the Chiefs have been. Now, I understand it because of the defensive limitations, but you're talking they'll have 2 games at Arrowhead, home field advantage. And while we're on the topic of special players, Patrick Mahomes is a special player, and he is clearly by far the best quarterback in these playoffs, at least on the AFC side, no doubt. He's playing the best. The kid is an amazing talent, and I think they're being a little undersold on their chances. I think most people are gravitating towards somebody making an interesting run like us or the Chargers. I think a lot of people are pointing to, hey, the winner of that game can make a run. And then obviously no one's going to count out the Patriots come January. I think with the Patriots, to me, Brady does not look right to me. So, he's missing way too many throws that Brady's normally spot on with. So to me, the interesting part is their defense has been quietly rounding in the form a little bit. So I think if they can, catch a favorable matchup, in their first round, in their first divisional game at Gillette, they could obviously make some noise. But, and also I'll take Al's point again in terms of, it's wide open. I mean, any of these 6 teams, the Colts are a very interesting team. I was a little higher on the Texans earlier, but they've seemed to stumble a little bit down the stretch. I think their secondary is a big problem. Deshaun Watson's great, but I think, ultimately they just seem like they have some stars, but they haven't quite put it all together yet. And the Colts are kind of the exact opposite. They have like basically no star players except Andrew Luck, but they're just a well-rounded team that, to me is a little dangerous. The Chargers, they're another one that they seem to be stumbling a bit down the stretch, and I don't think Rivers is playing his best ball right now. He may have peaked a little too early, and I think the Chargers, frankly, may have peaked a little too early. So, I think the only thing that scares me is, trying to beat a team twice in 3 weeks and them already having a full game of Lamar. And this will be the first time Lamar will have faced a team twice. So that's going to be an interesting challenge. But, I still think they're not peaking at the right time. So to me, it's the road goes through the Chiefs. And, if that kid can play like he's played all year long, who to me, he's clearly the MVP, they're the favorites in my book.
Okay, Bill?
First, I want to say Darius Leonard for the Colts is absolutely a star player. He's going to be the defensive rookie of the year. He had an unbelievable year, led the league in tackles despite missing a game, had 7 sacks and 4 forced fumbles or something. Outrageously good year for a rookie. Really a good year for anybody. So Darius Leonard for the Colts is definitely a star player. But as far as the seeding goes, I think I'm with Al. I think the seeding is as the seeding is. That's what the power rankings go. I like our chances against everybody. I mean, I don't think that the team, if you can't play defense, you're not going to beat the Chiefs. If you can't play D, the Chiefs are going to murder you. You cannot win a shootout with the Chiefs. So, the Rams, when the offense was on all cylinders, that was the only time you're going to see that. But the Rams are the second best offense in the league. So, were at that time. So I don't really think that sort of the middle of the road defenses in the playoffs are going to have a shot against the Chiefs. But we'll see how it goes. Yeah, I think the seeding is you earned what you earned. So.
Okay. All right. So I guess we'll move on to playoff predictions. You guys want to do I'll start off with the first game, obviously. Ravens, Chargers. I'll start with Vince. Obviously, who do you got? Ravens or the Chargers? And then I'll pass the question to everybody, and then we'll kind of go through each game, wild card weekend, and then through division. We'll see how far you think the Ravens will go. So, Vince, Ravens, Chargers, who you got? Where keys to your game?
Yeah, so I think, I think this is going to be a tough tough game, but I think we do have some built-in matchup advantages, particularly on defense. I think our defense poses a perfect blueprint to stop that Phillip Rivers Chargers offense. You know, we tend to struggle more against quarterbacks who can extend plays, kind of create on their own. We're usually, we're good enough to lock you down to take your first read away, and we are disciplined enough to be able to, for the most part, to be able to hold up. But when quarterbacks can break the pocket and kind of make plays off schedule. Baker Mayfield did that a ton Sunday. That's what gets us into trouble more. So, with Rivers, where he's going to be. So I think we present a great matchup. Their receivers, I think we have good individual matchups against their receivers. I think Marlon can handle Keenan Allen. I love Jimmy against Mike Williams. Hunter Henry, you're going to hear about him coming back. The guy's coming off ACL and hasn't played at all. So, what is he really going to be able to give you? Maybe 20 to 25 snaps. We'll see how effective they will be, even if he suits up. So I'm not too worried about him. To me, our defense presents the exact blueprint, and you saw it. I mean, we thoroughly dominated them on defense in the game a couple weeks ago. The concerns for me is I think I joined when Bill was hitting on it, but the two concerns for me offensively are, number one, turnovers. I mean, the fumbles have got to stop. I mean, that we cannot get away with what we have gotten away with and expect to make a deep playoff run with the amount of times Lamar has put the ball on the ground. It just cannot happen, and we have to clean that up. And then the second thing is red zone. Red zone is absolutely killing us right now. And, I think we have to find a way to get a little creative in the red zone. We were, I think, 1 for 4 in the Browns. We were 0 for 3 in terms of scoring touchdowns against the Chargers. We've plummeted to like the bottom 10 in the league in red zone percentage when, you think back the first 4 weeks, we scored like, I think, 12 out of 12 to start. Final numbers were like bottom 10 in the league now in red zone TD percentage. So that's a significant issue for us. And at the end of the day, touchdowns are going to be what it takes. And I think the problem there is twofold. When you get inside the 20, everything condenses. So number one, the rushing lanes condense down. Lamar does not have the openings for him to run as much because everything's condensed. And what really separates on the red zone is being able to win individual matchups on the outside or being able to make tight window throws with anticipation. And, unfortunately, that's not Lamar's game right now. And we aren't doing enough to scheme up plays to get guys open and to create mismatches with what we're doing. So we got to come up with something because, it's becoming ugly. We're kicking a lot of field goals inside the 20 and frankly inside the 10. And we've been stopped on 4th down. We've turned the ball over in the red zone. So to me, our risk here is kicking too many field goals and getting run down by a special quarterback. With that said, I think the difference for me is we're at home, our first home playoff game in a while. This crowd is going to be juiced beyond juiced, and this defense is going to be locked and loaded. I think they'll be dialed in even more knowing that they got a real scare against the Browns. So I hope that sharpens the screws a little bit in terms of some of the breakdowns we saw. But to me, I think the defense carries the day because we present just a perfect matchup for Rivers. So I'll go Ravens to get to win this one.
All right, Bill. Ravens Chargers, keys of the game for you?
Well, yeah, I think the turnover battle is going to be big. If we can make Rivers throw us the ball and Lamar keeps it in his hands, I think we have a really, really good shot. the Chargers defense did tighten up in the second half. Lamar and the offense did not do as much in the second half as what I would have liked to have seen. And obviously, we got a score in that game defensively, which helped. But yeah, I mean, Baker shredded us when we did not get pressure on him. He shredded us. We were giving up balls over the top. We got lucky with the helmet bounce ball on Jarvis Landry, or that would have been another long touchdown. So yeah, I mean, but fortunately for us, the Chargers D-line or the Chargers O-line is significantly worse than the Browns O-line. The Browns O-line is actually legit. Despite the fact that they've got Greg Williams or whatever his name is at left tackle, Greg Robinson. He's not a very good player, but the interior line, especially the two guards in particular, are excellent. So I think hopefully Rivers is going to be standing there, and Mike Pouncey is not a good player anymore, and hopefully Pierce and Williams will push right up the middle and flush him out to either Judon or Suggs, and we'll get a lot of pressure on him. And as far as offensively, just don't turn the ball over. We can't continue to turn the ball over the way that we are and win in the playoffs. We might be able to sneak past, a couple of teams maybe, but you can't give the ball back to Patrick Mahomes and not score, and he's going to score on you all day long. And so we got to get that figured out. I don't know. I mean, there's only so much you can do. Lamar's trying to make plays, but when he is in precarious situations and there's people around, he has to take care of the ball better. Obviously, there's only so much you can do about the weird option pitch, situation. Obviously, you got to pitch it better, but in general, I don't like the play call more than I dislike the fumbled execution. Obviously, I don't want him to fumble the ball, but that was a shit play call in that situation, regardless of the outcome. And so, I think we'll win. I think we'll beat the Chargers, despite the fact that this will be the Chargers' second crack at trying to figure out our running game. I just think Lamar has to play a little bit better, and I think he can. The Chargers are going to. They saw the Browns sell out 100% to stop the run. They had no one deep the whole game, and we didn't really punish them for that too much as far as the passing game goes. So I would expect to see that from the Chargers. I would expect to see them sell out even more against the run than they did the first time, and they really sold out the first time. So we have to punish them for it. We have to hit the play deep. We have to hit the deep crossing patterns or the whatever we have to get clean releases. We have to make them pay if they are putting stacked in the box, which they are sure to do.
All right, Al, your turn.
All right, so I won't hit on the first point I had, which was, of course, Ravens need to score in the red zone. Bill and Vince already talked about that. So we know you've got to take advantage. You've got to score touchdowns in the playoffs. So second thing, pressure Phillip Rivers. I think that goes without being said. Phillip Rivers is going to give the Ravens defense several opportunities for turnovers. The Ravens just have to cash in on them. Rivers over the last 3 weeks has thrown 6 interceptions in games, so I kind of think San Diego, if you can pressure them, if you can create turnovers, you can beat them. When I look back at the last 5 games,
LA.
Everyone's calling them San Diego still. They're not.
On this podcast, let's call them San Diego.
Yeah, they're still San Diego to me. But
there is not a single person in the LA basin that takes responsibility for the Chargers. Nobody wants them. Yeah. They're like, fuck the Chargers. I don't care. Yeah, so they're not the LA Chargers. They may reside somewhere in the LA market, but they are not drawing fans.
Yeah. So Rob, the Chiefs game that they played, Phillip Rivers 2 picks. He got sacked 5 times in that game. The Ravens game, they turned the ball over 3 times. 2 were picks by Rivers at 2 key moments. The Ravens sacked him 4 times. In that Denver game last week, they turned the ball over 4 times on offense for San Diego. Rivers threw 2 picks in that game. So That's the biggest key. You got to pressure Phillip Rivers. He's going to give you opportunities for takeaways, and the guys on defense, you just got to hold on to that football when he throws it to him, because he's going to throw it. I think he's going to give him at least 2 opportunities to get interceptions, and they've just got to catch the football. I think the biggest thing with Lamar, I think Lamar has shown some progression every week. I think that during practice this week, Marty and Greg Roman have got to do something to add some more passes to the offensive game. They've got to give some other opportunities to throw some passes, because, I mean, everybody's right. They're going to stack the box. They're gonna do everything that they can to try to get the Ravens to throw the football. I mean, so did the Browns, and I think the Ravens were still pretty effective. Kenny Dixon did a great job bouncing the football to the outside. Lamar Jackson did a great job breaking some runs on some nice fakes right up the middle. Should have had 3 touchdowns in the game. So I think this is a game that the Ravens can win. I don't think that the Chargers are playing that well right now, despite winning the game last week. I just don't think that the Chargers are playing that well. The Chiefs kind of collapsed at the end of that game to give them a cheap win in that one, because they were getting beaten up on by the Chiefs initially. So for me, I think the Ravens get the win here. I mean, I think this is at least a 10-point win for the Ravens.
All right, I'll get my answer pretty short and simple. Look, man, this is a home game. They have Lamar Jackson. I'm going to be outrageous with it. Ravens 34, Chargers 0. They don't even get on the scoreboard. Goose egg. And every single team in the AFC will get very scared.
That's called giving them a 2000 Giants.
Yeah.
That's correct. That is correct. I just said it. I'm going to be outrageous. I don't care. 0 for the Chargers. They get a goose egg here. Goose egg then. All right, next game up. Colts, Texans. Bill, you want to kick us off? Who do you got in the Colts-Texans game?
The Colts are playing good ball right now. I think that's going to be a great matchup, because the Colts offense matches up really well against what the power of what the Texans defense gives you. The Texans defense is suspect in the secondary. I think they've had some players that have had nagging injuries. Their cornerbacks in particular have been playing with like ankle and hamstring type stuff pretty much all year. So they've been, hit or miss. Somebody gets a tweak or somebody pulls something the wrong way, and all of a sudden they're hobbling around out there. And the guard play for the Colts has been ridiculous. So that matches up against obviously JJ. If you can control JJ with your interior 3, that makes your job a lot easier on the exterior, because he usually abuses at least one of the guards, and usually both of them. But the Colts have very good players. Obviously, JJ has a lot more experience, than in particular than whatever the guy's name is from Notre Dame. That's the stud at guard. He's a rookie, but so JJ might be able to whip him with experience. But they're both good players. So I think the Colts have a good shot against the Texans. So I think that's a pretty even matchup. The only reason I give the Texans a little bit more hope is because they're home, obviously, and that the crowd helps, getting in the offense, being loud and stuff like that. So we'll see how it goes. I would rather, at this point in the league, at this point in the year, I think I'd rather face the Texans than the Colts. The only reason I would want to face the Colts is because if we both win, we get the AFC Championship game in Baltimore. So go Colts.
Okay, so you got the Colts traveling to Kansas City. All right. Al, Colts, Texans, what you got?
This one's a tough one. I mean, they played twice this year. Each game was a field goal game, and the first game was a win by the I think it was the Texans in overtime. So this one's a tough one to call. I honestly think this game is going to go the keys to the game for the Texans are that secondary better hold up, because in that first game, Luck threw for 4 touchdowns. 460 yards in the first game. So they can't have another performance like that to win this game. I think Lamar Miller is going to be the other key to the game. They have to run the football, and they can't put it all on Deshaun Watson to try to win this game. I think you can't put it all on Watson and DeAndre Hopkins in this one. Lamar Miller's got to give them some sort of support and run the football. I think in the end, T.Y. Hilton over 1,000 yards this year. I think 7 or 8 touchdowns. Eric Ebron has just come in and had a resurgence, 13 touchdowns this year. I think that Luck and those guys, they're hot right now. They get the win. They get the win in Houston. So I'm taking the Texans, but it will be a close one.
Oh, my bad. Okay, so you got the Texans. All right. Vince, you got Colts or Texans?
Yeah, very good matchup. I think stylistically, Bill was hitting on it a little bit there in terms of what Indy can do to kind of neutralize J.J. Watt. Quentin Nelson, he is an absolute stud. He was the can't miss guy, in this draft, and he's proven to be every bit of that. But I think for me, it's the Colts just beat them on the road a few weeks back. I know. I think a lot of people are giving the Colts love here, and really, frankly, are expecting them to go in there and beat the Texans. But and they're definitely playing a little better ball. I mean, obviously they started, I think, 1-5, and for them to make a run and get 10-6 in playoffs, I mean, they're a hot, dangerous team, but they're also a very young team, and really not that battle tested. Certainly playoff time. I mean, everyone wants to think Andrew Luck has been a mainstay in the playoffs, but he really hasn't. And obviously, a lot of their players are very young guys and guys that haven't necessarily tasted it. And, meanwhile, very quietly, Houston has just been a perennial playoff team with Bill O'Brien. And, they have always just kind of found their way in, and they haven't really made too much noise in the Bill O'Brien era in the playoffs. But I think this is a really big game for that franchise. And with them at home, this is just one of those they got to find a way to win. And I think at the end of the day, on paper, this kind of looks like the Colts have a lot of the matchup advantages. But I just think they're a little young. They're kind of on a high right now. Haven't faced that kind of playoff level adversity. So I'm going to side with Deshaun Watson and the Texans here. I think he can make enough plays, and really this team needs to show that they're ready to take that next step, with Bill O'Brien. And, frankly, if they can't win a home playoff game, against the Colts, against their division rival, you got to start to question what the ceiling is for Bill O'Brien and this team. So, I think this is a really big game for them. The Colts are just happy to be there. They made a hell of a run. They're going to be in this for a long time because they got a nice young nucleus, and I love Frank Reich as a coach. I think the Eagles are certainly missing him this year, and I think that's proven to be the case. But I think the experience and just this being such a big game for Houston, I think that gets them over the edge.
All right. Well, my turn. I think you kind of hit on something there, which was that Frank Wright ran that Eagles offense with Nick Foles. So he has Andrew Luck. I'm taking the Colts over the Texans. I think the Colts get a close one here. I think somehow like a field goal after the last few minutes, Luck drives them down there and gets the field goal in. I'm taking the Colts. So I got the 6th seed. So does Bill and Alan. Vince, you got the Texans. So that means for you two, the Ravens travel to Kansas City, and for me and Bill, we travel to New England. So Bill, Ravens, New England division round. Who you got?
I think we have a good shot against New England. The defense is equipped to handle. I mean, we have I'm not even going to say that because I don't want to jinx us. But yeah, we are 100% healthy, and we, we are equipped to deal with the weapons that New England has. And, Tom Brady is still Tom Brady. So I would definitely not take that game as a cupcake, but I like our chances against New England, which is part of the reason I want them I want the Colts to win, because that sends them. We get one more shot to have somebody else take out Kansas City, because I like our chances against Indianapolis better than I like them against Kansas City. And if Kansas City somehow beats, or I'm sorry, if Indianapolis somehow beats Kansas City, then the championship game is in Baltimore, which, I like our chances in Baltimore against anybody, and Indianapolis is the only one we're able to get there. So I'll take them, but yeah, so I like our chances against New England, and hopefully the Colts do us a favor.
All right. Al, you have the Ravens, Kansas City. Who you got?
I thought I picked the Colts, but I'll go the Ravens, Kansas City.
I'm pretty sure you said Texans. Am I right? Everybody else?
I thought I said Colts in a close one.
Okay. If you say Colts, that's fine. That means you got New England. Ravens, New England. Who do you want?
I'll give you the breakdown for both. I'll give you the breakdown for both games, because I think that's how it's going to line up for the Ravens. If they're going to get to the Super Bowl, they've got to beat the Patriots and they've got to beat the Chiefs. So I think in the first game it will be the Patriots, and I think it's a good matchup for the Ravens. I mean, watching Gronk out there these last few weeks, I mean, he appears to me to have kind of lost something. I'm not necessarily swayed by Tom Brady's 4-touchdown performance last week, because I kind of feel like it was against a Jets team that their season was over, and yeah, it would have been nice to beat Tom Brady and the Patriots, but you had a coaching staff that was getting ready to get fired anyway. So I don't know. You never want to easily bet against the Patriots, but I like the secondary. I mean, because I think what New England has relied on quite a bit is the running game powered by Sony Michel, and I just don't think he has a huge game against the Ravens. So I like the Ravens. I like the Ravens in Foxborough to win. I mean, the Ravens have never really backed down from a game there. I think Harbaugh has instilled some confidence in this team, and I think Harbaugh said it this week, and I think what he meant by, well, this is one of the best teams he's had, is, I mean, these guys are playing together as a team. The secondary's gotten better because they're playing better together in terms of coverage. They had the blown coverage on the almost touchdown by Jarvis Landry where the ball hit him in the helmet last week, but for the most part, they've played together back there as a unit. I mean, Lamar Jackson's energized this team. And Rob, that's one of those things where I said you were right on Lamar Jackson. I mean, he's energized this team. He's got guys excited and ready to come out there and play every week. And even when they get down, it seems to me like the team still feels like they're in the football game. And I don't know if they had that same feeling with Joe Flacco. So for me, I'm going Ravens over the Patriots, and then I think from there, I do think the Chiefs would beat the Colts. So in that game, jumping ahead, that was going to be a tough one for the Ravens. I mean, Patrick Mahomes is having a hell of a year, and for me, unfortunately, I feel like his Cinderella year continues, and he beat Lamar and the Ravens the second time around.
All right, so you guys going up to the AFC Championship game, is that right?
Yeah.
All right, we'll come back to that, so hang on to that. Vince, you got the Texans, so that means Ravens travel to Kansas City in your first round. Who do you got?
Yeah, so before I get into my pick there, I want to just caution everybody about wanting to see the Patriots. I understand that the Patriots are a far more flawed team than the Chiefs, but the one factor that scares the living hell out of me with going to the Patriots is you have Bill Belichick sitting around during this bye week, thinking all bye week, knowing that there's a real possibility that we come to town and that we are by far the scarier of the two options when it's either Texans or us from the Patriots perspective. He is going to spend all bye week scheming up this Lamar offense. And the one thing that makes Bill Belichick an absolute genius is that he will take away your best weapon and force you to beat them in a way that you do not want to do. So he is going to take away your top option and force you to beat them with plan B. And to me, I think he is going to scheme up our offense and present us with a ton of challenges. And, I think the blueprint is there. And, I love the fact that Romo has done a lot of our games lately. And he made a great point in the second half of that Browns game, because when we started to go 3-and-out down the stretch, it happened because late in the snap count, the Browns linemen were pinching the A and B gaps, and they were sending two guys off the edge in almost like a Bear 46 type defense, where you basically pinch down your four linemen to isolate the up the middle, and you send your edge rushers, and you're basically at that point daring them to throw the football and beat you a different way. And, we had some problems adjusting to that adjustment. And, I think to me, if I look at what can trip us up in the playoffs, it is Bill Belichick scheming the hell out of our offense. I'm not even worried so much about our defense against Brady. Like I said, I think Brady's flawed this year. He just doesn't look right. That offense doesn't scare me at all. But going into Foxborough, with Belichick, with an extra week to prepare, to me, that's a nightmare scenario. So I'm rooting for the Texans. I'm hoping we avoid the Patriots. At the very least, get them in the AFC Championship game, because I think at that point, Belichick only has a week to prepare, and he doesn't have as much to wrinkle against us. So that's my thoughts on the divisional round in general. In terms of the game against the Chiefs, I think we present a formula that can beat the Chiefs. And I think that has certainly been proven, obviously, with our first matchup. But, the way to beat the Chiefs is to possess the ball, grind it out, limit Patrick Mahomes' opportunities. And you have to, as Bill said, carry a great defense up there. You're not going to beat them without a really good defense that can at least slow them down. And then we have the running game. So I think the formula is there. I will take us to beat the Chiefs. I think, again, that is our best. As weird as it is, if you tell me who's the better team, Chiefs, Patriots, Chiefs all day. But for us in the divisional round, based on what Belichick would be able to do to scheme us up, to me, I think it's a far better option for us to play the Chiefs. Even though we've already played them, I feel like we have better matchup edges against them. And frankly, the Andy Reid pedigree can always show up in the playoffs as well.
Man, I don't know. I can't agree as far as playing. I understand and also am afraid of Bill Belichick's skill as a defensive schematic, planner. Having said that, everybody's got to play until they get punched in the mouth. The players still have to make the plays on the field, and I don't know that the Patriots have the horses on defense to deal with our run game. Like, yeah, Belichick is going to help schematically, but let the freight train, let Gus the Bus loosen them up a little bit, tenderize the meat, and then send Lamar on the edge.
All right. Well, I got my pick. Obviously, I went with you, Bill. So I think we could take out the Patriots. I'm not too concerned. I remember that Ray Rice run we had, 2009, I think, on them that we knocked them out of the playoffs. That was the last time I think they lost in the wild card round or something. But we ran all over them. So
wasn't that the game that Joe Flacco threw for 32 yards or something and we won? Wasn't that correct? Is that the same game?
That is correct.
Yeah, I think we threw 10 passes.
But you can run a Bill Belichick. I ain't worried about Bill Belichick at all. Forget that guy. I like the New England draw.
Forget
I
that
think we beat.
guy, yeah.
If we beat New England, I ain't worried about that, dude. We beat New England. For me, we move on to the AFC Championship game. Colts at Chiefs. I'll keep it real. I think Kansas City would kind of beat up on them. So I think we would travel to Kansas City for the AFC Championship game. So I'll stop there. Bill, I guess you're on the same path I am, unless you have the Colts beating the Chiefs.
Yeah, I'm going all the way. I'm Baltimore AFC Championship game. I'm going. Colts go to Kansas City and put the. Yeah, I'm not. They're not going to put a whooping on them. I was about to say put a whooping on them. That's just because I was talking hyperbole. But I think that the Colts offense could compete in a shootout with the Chiefs, and I think that the Colts defense is good enough to come up with a play at the right time or whatever to swing the game. And they have Vinatieri, so the kicker is that you can count on the kicker in the playoffs. I like the Colts' chances. I can't say better than ours, but almost as well as our chances against the Chiefs. I think the Colts are playing with a lot of confidence right now, and obviously Luck, being healthy is a boon to their offensive performance. So I think the Colts have a shot. We'll see.
Okay, so let me kind of go back. Al has Kansas City, Baltimore AFC Championship game, but he has Kansas City moving on to the Super Bowl. Is that right, Al?
That's it for me.
All right, Vince, you get New England versus Baltimore. Who wins? Vince there?
Yeah, I can't believe I just posed a scenario where I'm going to put the Patriots into the Super Bowl. But, look, I think Bill's point's well taken, and maybe I'm overblowing the Belichick thing to a certain extent, particularly because, now that I think about it more, their linebackers are not athletic enough. But, I'm just very fearful of the fact that, it's tough to take a one-dimensional offense up to New England and not expect Belichick to take away what you do best and force you to be a different way. But, I think at the end of the day, if we end up making the run I think we're making into the championship game, it's going to be because Lamar has taken another step as a passer. And I think, at the end of when we talked about it earlier, but he's going to have to hit some big shots, a few more. I think we've been having like one or two a game, but the teams are going to start scheming a little more. And, playoffs is a different animal in terms of the level of preparation, the intensity, and the fact that you have two teams sitting there on a bye with a lot of time to prepare. So, I think we're going to have to show a different dimension, certainly either in the red zone with Lamar making some plays with his arm in the red zone or some more downfield passing. So, I think if we get there, look, can we win in Foxborough? Absolutely. We've proven it. We seem to always play well up there. We'll pack our defense, and I'm not worried about us limiting Brady at all. I think eventually pedigree can kind of catch up with us a little bit. So I'll reluctantly put the Patriots in this scenario, but I think at the end of the day, we have the ability to beat any of these teams, and I think if we can get through, if we can offset some of our limitations a little more, particularly offensively with the red zone and more downfield passing, I think that'll be the key to kind of get us over the hump in these divisional round championship game scenarios we're talking about.
Okay. So you got us stopping also at the AFC Championship game. Bill, you got Kansas City and no, you have Colts. I'm sorry, you have Colts Ravens. All right, take it away. Who do you got? How far do the Ravens go?
I'm going Ravens all the way. I'm going Ravens all the way. Come on. Number one defense, number one kicker, number one running game. And I think Lamar, sooner or later, he can throw the ball. He can throw the ball. He might be getting fooled by coverage, or the rush might be getting to him just a little bit more than what he's used to, a little faster guys. You know, like he might not just get, maybe not 100% comfortable, but he can throw the ball. Yeah, he's gonna throw a couple passes that are errant, and he can't throw into tight windows yet, but he can throw it down the field. I've seen him do it a million times on tape. Like we've seen him do it this year. The throw that he threw to Mark Andrews, it could not have been in a better spot. It was a perfect ball. So yeah, the Browns game we almost lost that game. I was real nervous. But the blueprint that they showed on how to beat us, I'm not sure that blueprint holds up. Sell out with cover zero. Yeah, put nobody back there. Sooner or later, Lamar's going to hit one of those plays. And, and that, like, what looked like a good plan to beat us is all of a sudden going to be the reason you lost. So I like our offense. Our running game's not going anywhere. We're like 4 deep in the stable at running back. And Lamar he hasn't even broken the big run. That's the thing. Like the run he had last week for whatever it was, 35, where he was about to go out of bounds and he decided at the last second to try a spoon move or something back to the inside and took that hit. That was the first big run, like the first huge run that he'd had in a while. He hasn't broken the 90-yard run, the 75-yard run, and he's primed for it. If you're blitzing and miss and the field opens up, he's gone. Do you have nobody in the field? There's no safety back there to try to take an angle and force him back into the defense. He's going to score. So, yes, you might be able to beat us by selling out 100% to stop the run and just hope that you can contain everything. But sooner or later, he's going to throw one over your head, and I think it's going to be in the playoffs.
All right, so you got Ravens to the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
All right. In my scenario, I have Ravens at Kansas City. Tough matchup, obviously from before, but we kind of won that game. We kind of let a few things get away from us. I think the story for the Ravens, if they make it this far, is going to be Lamar Jackson's playmaking ability. I agree with you. I think he's just starting to get hot at the right time. And when that guy he's going to break a 90-yard run, I agree with you, or he's going to throw some bombs on you, and they're going to be like, shit, this guy can throw. That's going to happen, and a lot of teams are going to see that. So in my scenario, we beat the Kansas City Chiefs, and we're into the Super Bowl. So I guess me and Bill get to pick our opponents because Vince and Al, you guys had us losing at the AFC Championship game. I'm going to pick my opponent from the NFC. I think it's the New Orleans Saints. I think that's who we see in the Super Bowl. Bill, who do you got? And, of course, we could beat the Saints because we almost beat them this season. We got them. Bill, who do you got in the Super Bowl for the NFC?
I was looking because I haven't even really paid attention to who's the shittiest team in the NFC. Give me them, but
Eagles.
I would take Nick Foles. Yeah, give me those INTs, Nick Foles. But no, I don't think that Nick Foles is gonna. There's no magic left in the Philly Magic special. I don't see it's. I can't see anybody but Rams or Saints. I don't know. We'll see. We'll see how it goes.
You got to pick an opponent. I picked the Saints. You can pick the Saints too. You can pick the Rams. It could be the Seahawks.
I'm gonna take the Saints. I'm gonna take the Saints, and I'm gonna say that Baltimore loses to Drew Brees in his sunset ride.
Oh wow! So only I have us winning the Super Bowl this season. You got us getting there and losing. Vince, you got us losing to New England, and Al, you got us losing to Kansas City. I believe. Is that correct?
Yes.
Yeah, well, one thing quick on the NFC, I think the Saints are clearly the favorite, but, the one team I would be on the lookout for, if they can get past the first round matchup, the Bears, I think, have the formula. Trubisky's going to need to step up, but the Bears have the formula to pack a defense and go in there. They would be the only one I would take, as an outside shot. But I think this Philly Magic is, I mean, who knows? But if they get past that, I can see that they have the formula, and Matt Nagy's one hell of a football coach.
Yeah, I agree with Vince on that one. I mean, I think the Bears have a pretty good shot. I mean, that defense has played lights out since week one this year. I mean, they overcame that 3-interception Mitchell Trubisky game and still won. I forget who it was that they beat that week, but that team's playing great. I don't think the Saints are going to have a cakewalk because the Rams are a good football team too, and I think a lot of people are forgetting about them and really just kind of looking at the Saints. But I don't think the Saints played that well down the stretch this year. So I think you could see the Saints, but don't count out the Rams or the Bears in the NFC either, because I think all of those teams have a legitimate shot. I don't see the Eagles getting back there, and I don't see the Seahawks or the Cowboys getting there either.
Okay. Bill, anything else to add there? Or?
No, I was just saying I didn't think about the Bears when I was saying the thing. Defense travels in the playoffs, so yeah, the Bears definitely have a shot.
All right. Okay. I guess we'll just move on to our final part here. Obviously, it's going to be the John Harbaugh talk. I'm going to throw it out there. Obviously, how far does he go in the playoffs for them to re-sign him? I guess that'd be my question. You got two of you guys take him to the AFC Championship game. Me and Bill take him to the Super Bowl. Do you think it's a possibility they could trade him in this offseason? Just say, you got to throw it out there in the trade. Al, what do you think? Did they trade John or did they sign John to a long-term deal?
First, I got a few points here. So first, the state of the state of coaching in the NFL right now. I mean, everybody's kicking around retreads. So everybody's out here interviewing guys that just got fired 2, 3, 4 days ago. Mike McCarthy's probably the only guy out of that bunch that I would want to coach here in Baltimore, and every other team in the league already has a leg up, and I wouldn't be surprised if he gets signed next week. Oklahoma just paid Lincoln Riley a ton of money to stay, so he's not leaving the college ranks. And quite frankly, if I was any one of these successful college coaches, I wouldn't leave the college ranks either, because you control the personnel, you control the team, and you get paid more than you would in the NFL. So why leave? The only way I'm trading John Harbaugh is if somebody comes with a John Gruden-like trade and is willing to give you 2 first-rounders, 2 second-rounders, and $8 million, because that's what the Bucks gave up to get John Gruden. And that roster that they were walking John Gruden into was already ready-made to win the Super Bowl. I mean, you had a Hall of Famer or Hall of Famer finalists at pretty much every level with Warren Sapp, Simeon Rice, who potentially will be a Hall of Famer, Derek Brooks, John Lynch, John Lynch, who will be a Hall of Famer, Rondé Barber. I mean, you were walking in with guys like that on that defense, really in the prime of their careers. And I think the Ravens have a good team, but they're not a team that's at that level. I mean, you had Warwick Dunn in his prime. I think in the backfield there, I could be wrong. I mean, Mike
Alstott too.
Yeah, Alstott, Keyshawn Johnson was there. You had a lot of guys that were in the prime of their career, and on offense, I mean, Keyshawn was a stud there. So you had some talent there on both sides of the football that I think the Ravens are just trying to build something new, and they have the perfect staff to do that. No, I wouldn't trade John Harbaugh. I think you need to try to get an extension done with John. And the reality is, only Steve Bisciotti knows how much of a reality that is. I mean, in the local Baltimore media, I mean, you're hearing everything right now. The Ravens are going to trade Harbaugh. That's why they gave the press release last week. I don't know, but I'm sure Steve Bisciotti knows exactly what's going to happen because I know these two have sat down and had conversations. I think they probably both have a mutual respect for each other, and they've sat down and had some discussions. So I think Bisciotti knows how realistic it is for John to stay and what it's going to take for John to stay. I think, like most coaches, John's going to want a little more say over the roster. He's going to want a little more power because he's put in a lot of time here in Baltimore, and he's brought this town a Super Bowl. So I would do what I could to keep John Harbaugh. I mean, the guy that you're trying to trade is Joe Flacco at this point. And I'm sending him to whoever's going to give me the most for him. You're not getting a first round pick for Joe Flacco, especially with a deal that's going to at least probably carry, I think, a $20 million cap hit for the team that takes him. But I don't get what the push is to trade John Harbaugh. I think most of the people, probably Rob, with the exception of you on this call, said, hey, if the Ravens go to the playoffs, John Harbaugh is going to be here next year. And I think that was pretty much the consensus around town. So why everyone wants to run Harbaugh out of town is kind of beyond me. I mean, to me.
Well, can I add something for you?
Let me make my last point, and then you can add.
All right.
You had two guys that were in this equation, John Harbaugh and Joe Flacco. And we've seen kind of the inconsistent performance from Joe Flacco for the last 3 years, 4 years. It's up and down. And I think that's one of the things that everyone likes about Lamar Jackson is they're getting a consistent performance from him really every week. And you weren't getting that from Joe. And now you've taken Joe out of the equation, inserted a new quarterback, and they're winning with him. That's another reason why you keep John Harbaugh. Why restart this thing with a new coach that maybe doesn't even want Lamar to be their quarterback? It doesn't make sense to me on any level unless somebody makes you an offer you can't refuse. All right, Rob, what's your point?
All right, this is the rumor I heard was behind the scenes, Eric DaCosta and John Harbaugh do not get along. So part of what I heard was he wants to replace John Harbaugh with somebody else. So I think that's where you're getting some of those trade rumors from as well. Also, it's Harbaugh's last season contract extension, whatever, next year. So hey, that's what I've heard. That's behind the scenes. And you can laugh all you want. We'll see if it's true or not. But I think there's a possibility they do trade him this offseason.
Get off the message boards, Rob. Get off the message boards. Get off.
Rob, if that's a power struggle with Harbaugh,
get off the fanboy boards.
Harbaugh wins that power struggle because Harbaugh has a little more juice than DaCosta does. I mean, DaCosta's been the hot GM candidate for a long time, but the reality is he hasn't done anything. He hasn't won anything here in Baltimore, and Harbaugh has, quite frankly.
Yeah, and I'll jump in here for my thoughts. I mean, Al, I really don't have to because you laid out as perfect of an argument as there could have been made, to be honest. First of all, tell me who you're getting. Can somebody tell me who the hell we're going to get to coach this team? Now, and I was just about to say, do not give me that piece of trash, Josh McDaniels. First of all, he's probably
That's
gone
your head
by the end of
coach.
the week.
That's your head coach.
Yeah, that is not happening, and that would be disaster. And that's not how Bisciotti operates. To me, I think there is probably a little bit of truth to this really being a true negotiation for as much Harbaugh as it is for Bisciotti. I think this is no longer a we're going to fire Harbaugh, Bisciotti. He's not doing a good enough job decision because, to me, that's frankly bullshit at this point. He's a top 5 to 10 head coach, and when you say head coach in the NFL, it's really a CEO. That's what the head coach is supposed to be. He needs to run the show, set the vision, and orchestrate the staff. And everyone wants these hotshot whiz, kids. And hey, who knows? Maybe it'll work. But have any of them won a championship? Let's see it happen. Because at the end of the day, and to me, I think you need a CEO as a head coach who can put people in place at the coordinator spots, who can set a vision for the team, who can lead a bunch of crazy personalities. To ask Mike Tomlin about doing that in Pittsburgh, and Harbaugh has proven that he is one of the top 5, 10 just leaders, head coaches. I'm so sick of hearing the crap. So we already ran Joe out of town, and he's the one was everybody's problem, right? So now we have Lamar, and now we're going to run Harbaugh out of town. Like, the insanity of this fan base sometimes just gets to me. Like, I said before, and I said it again, the difference between this year and the last year and the last 2 years are a couple plays. So, if you want to sit here and tell me this crap about that there's somebody better in Harbaugh out there that we're going to get, at this point, I'm not really even trying to listen to it, because, to me, it's what are we going to do to make sure Harbaugh's happy and stays around? Because if you don't think he would be snatched up in 10 minutes if we let him go, I mean, you're crazy. Look at how starved coaching is in the NFL right now. I mean, the guys that are being given interviews, like, are you kidding me? Jim Caldwell and all these retreads. And I mean, Hugh's going to get it. I mean, Hugh might get a job. Hugh freaking Jackson might get one of these 32 jobs right now. I mean, it's insane. And to think that we're going to throw Harbaugh away, for some sort of like one pick or something like that. Like, are you kidding me? Like, so I'm not, unless there is a real friction and he wants to go, assuming he wants to be the coach of the Ravens, I'll have him as long as he wants to be here.
Okay, so let me kind of rewind back. So if they announced a contract extension, do you think he's waiting to see how far he goes in the playoffs before he would sign?
I don't think it matters much. I mean, if he does half of what we're saying they're going to do, I don't think this conversation can even matter at all. I mean, but yeah, I'll let Bill jump in. I don't think he's chimed in yet.
Yeah, I mean, I think that I don't think there's any chance that we're going to trade Harbaugh. For 2 reasons. All the reasons that they just said. I mean, he's a legitimate. He has a legitimate chance at Coach of the Year, I think. I mean, we switched offense midstream and have only lost to the best team in the league by the skin of our teeth because of a miracle no-look pass. Like, I mean, like, we're so yeah. I mean, we're not going to trade Harbaugh for all of those reasons, and then also no one is going to give up the type of package that the Buccaneers gave up for John Gruden. It's just not going to happen again. John Gruden, for whatever reason, has that mystique about him. Even coming back, getting the 10-year, whatever it is, $200 million contract or whatever the hell he got, and he hired Mike Mayock as the GM. Like, Mike Mayock is ever going to say no to a player that John Gruden wants. So yeah, I mean, John Gruden's a different animal, but yeah, nobody's going to give up that kind of a package for John Harbaugh. And we would be fools to let him go for anything less. So yeah, I think that's a moot argument at this point. I don't think he's going to be traded under any circumstances, even if we go out and shit the bed against the Chargers, which I do not expect to happen. But as far as trading Joe Flacco, I definitely think that's going to happen. And I'll go one better. I'd like to trade Jimmy Smith as well. Jimmy Smith has had a good enough year this year and is healthy enough heading out of the season that, like, his contract is not outrageous for a corner that had the type of year that he's had, despite his off the field issues and continual injury problems. But somebody who is as cornerback starved as most of the teams are in this league is going to look at Jimmy Smith and the 1 year left he has on his contract and think, that's a pretty good bridge. If we don't have any corners at all, we got to draft a guy, and we don't know if that guy can play yet. Let's get Jimmy Smith in here for 1 year and see, what we can do. So, yeah, I think it's a legitimate possibility that we get, a decent pick for Flacco, second, third, something in that range, and maybe a player if we can come up with something interesting. Denver, I think, is probably a likely landing spot for Flacco based upon Elway's continued push to try to get Gary Kubiak to come back in some capacity with the Broncos, because Flacco had his best year in years with under Kubiak, and he's available. And I know if you read any of the comments or saw the press conference after Elway fired Vance Joseph, you know that he is not going to go into next year with Case Keenum as his quarterback, or at least as his only quarterback. So yeah, I don't know what's going to happen there, but yeah, I'd look to trade both of those players, but we're not trading Harbaugh.
Let me add on that. That's a really good point. If we do trade him to Denver, getting a second or third round pick, we don't have a second round pick this year because we traded it. So that could be a second round pick for Joe Flacco, maybe, and maybe a player or something, down the line. I agree with you there. You already heard my thoughts. Trade John, trade Jimmy, trade Joe, trade all three of them. Get all them draft picks. Josh McDaniels is coming to the Baltimore Ravens, I think, next year.
Man, fuck Josh McDaniels.
Yeah. Let me help you understand this, Rob. There's eight coaches got fired. Only 2 of those teams have even called Josh McDaniel about an interview right now. I mean, so that tells you that the teams are not interested in Josh McDaniel, especially at how unprofessional he was with that Colts deal last year. Why would you want a guy in here like that has no loyalty to a team, and you want to bring him in here to kind of make him the like Vince said, the CEO of your franchise? I don't want a guy like that.
And hold on. I mean, that's a great point, Al, but I just want to know how the hell you can have them winning the Super Bowl and then trading Harbaugh. Can you explain that to me?
Sell high.
How is that
Sell high,
possible?
sir. Sell high.
Sell high. Rob, I said this before. I think I said it in the podcast that we did when Vince and Al were out of town or whatever. But I love Harbaugh as a leader of men. I don't like him as an X's and O's coach, which makes me more worried about Marty Mornhinweg. I know that Marty has turned around, and I can't say anything bad because he has done the job, and we're in the playoffs, largely because of his ability to switch gears from Flacco to Jackson. But I don't like Marty Mornhinweg as an X's and O's play caller. I don't like him. I don't like him as a play caller. I'll never have. I still think some of the shit is questionable, like the third down pitch that we almost fumbled the game away on, trying to get a first down. That's a ridiculous play call in that situation. And so, I just don't like him as a play caller. I have to eat crow on Wink Martindale because going into this season and listening to his week-to-week pressers, I thought he was dumb as a brick, and I didn't think he could make adjustments. And the first handful of games in the season when the defense wasn't playing that great, all of my worst fears were confirmed. I didn't think he could make in-game adjustments, and it turns out that he is making great adjustments, not only week to week, but at halftime and even into like late in the fourth quarter. He's still trotting out things that haven't been seen and playing. Like, we are stopping the run with just the nickel. We're like, yeah, we're just going to keep playing the nickel. And if you aren't able to run against it, we're not going to change it. And, we're only playing 45 snaps a game on defense. So fuck you, and I just love it. So, yeah, Wink Martindale, good job. Marty Mornhinweg, I hope you're not here next year.
All right. Al, you got any final thoughts there?
I mean, just hoping for a Ravens win this weekend. That's it. I mean, just go out there, pressure Phillip Rivers, make him get rid of the football, and he's going to throw you a few. And Jimmy Smith, anybody on the back end, the linebackers, just catch it and go the other way and score.
All right, Vince?
Yeah, let's just win, man. I think, again, we match up very well with Rivers. I think we show up and play our typical home game defense, not like last week. And turnovers and red zone, we clean that up. We should get the win.
Bill?
Yeah, grind it out. Let's get one. Like, control the clock, control time of possession. Keep our defense on the sideline, and let's get one. Let's get a W.
All right. Well, I guess I'm the only one here once again who believes this team can go to the Super Bowl and win it. You said make it, but I said go and win it. I said the Ravens were going to the playoffs under Lamar Jackson. It all happened. We're going to win a Super Bowl. But we're going to come back.
Rob, I believe that we can beat all those teams, but we got to beat the Chargers first. We're talking about playing in the Super Bowl against the Saints. Oh, who do you think's better, the Saints or the Ravens in the Super Bowl? Man, we got to beat the Chargers first, bro.
Hey, let me say it again. There's an electrifying player in the National Football League plays for the Baltimore Ravens. This kid is going to take us the distance. So just be prepared for it.
I can't wait to see what Josh McDaniels does with him.
Rob, this is the first round of the playoffs. There's a long way to go.
Well, it's only a few games. Let's get back to it. So do you guys want to come back if we make it to the AFC Championship game, which we're all predicting we're going to be there? Do we want to come back to a podcast before that? And if we win after that for the Super Bowl, obviously.
Yeah, I'm good with that.
Yeah, I mean, let's play it by ear. I mean, I don't have any problem doing one week to week, but we'll see how it goes with schedules and stuff.
So you're still winning.
Well, I may be in the hospital the week after for baby number 3.
You gonna get a sex change? You using the baby as an excuse?
Yes, that's correct. Call me Roberta. All right. I'm gonna hit. All right, we'll come back. If you guys want to do it week to week, we can do it week to week.